Hi and welcome to Samarpan podcast number 11, and today we've got Bhakti Joshi here, who is a counselling psychologist amongst other areas of work that you work in. Welcome to Samarpan.
Thank you.
Would you maybe like to just introduce yourself, a little bit about who you are and the sort of your area of work and training?
So hello everyone, my name is Bhakti Joshi, as Martin introduced me. I am a counseling psychologist and a trauma focused therapist, and I have been in this field for 8 years. I have worked in field like hospitals, schools, BMC schools, international schools, shelter homes, and even worked with women's sexual health, and I have my own private practice currently at Churney Road.
Okay, thank you, and certainly a varied area of practice, and I think we were just having a conversation prior to when we came on, and we sort of said, look, we're going to give a trigger warning because there may be some content here that could be triggering for some people. We're going to talk around about children and abuse and trauma.
Yes.
I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
So as I say, some of the content may be quite difficult for people to hear, but hopefully we can, spread a bit more awareness and get people to certainly reach out and ask for the help that they may need. I think that's where we're going.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Do you want to just sort of maybe talk a little bit about your experience working with children victims of abuse, and what that's been like?
So the very first thing to understand about abuse and trauma in India is that it's very, very vast. It's more than textbook, what we have learned in our textbooks, right? Because there is a lot of cultural significance. There are nuances, there are subcultures in India, right? So many a times it does happen where the children are taken advantage of because it's one of the most vulnerable populations, right? Anywhere in the world, not only in India.
Of course.
But there are times where the child is not aware about what exactly is abuse or what borders abuse. When an adult is taking advantage of any child, it equates to abuse. Right? Where the child does not understand whether it is, if it's sexual, is it physical, is it emotional, is it financial for that matter, where the child is not allowed to take education, or is kept away from education, or kept away from the basic needs. For example, even having proper meals, proper nutrition, proper clothing. Right? That is where abuse in India is more prevalent. There is a higher percentage, I would say, in terms where the people are becoming more aware about it. Earlier it was under the carpet, I do not want to bring shame to my family. Or the parents of the child would say, oh no, that is chi-chi, or that is disgusting. Don't talk about it. It will bring shame. How do we handle that? People are becoming more aware, and more so, the children are becoming more aware about this. Why do you think that maybe, I'm just going to go back to the child first. What has enabled children to become more aware? Do you think that's because of things like social media, or how do you sort of see the change in children becoming more aware? I would say it's an amalgamation of both, and many other factors, I would say. The first being the social media, of course. Because of the internet or the social media, the world has come closer. It's hardly any few seconds that you get results on the Google itself, right? And even advertisements by the government, right? They are also very much helpful, because people today, they still go back to the government channels and watch the advertisements and all. So definitely first is the social media. The second factor is insistence on having school counselors. Right? So many NGOs, they hire school counselors or the therapists, and then they are provided to the schools where the awareness sessions are provided. Right? So not only when you teach a child, they automatically teach a classroom. Right? And when that child goes home, they teach a family. So that those awareness sessions are very, very important in developing the child.
Yeah.
Right? So of course, it requires age-based categorization
Of
of
course.
awareness
Of
sessions.
course.
But that is how the children are becoming more and more aware, and they teach parents as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm from overseas, as you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I'm a what do we call people like me? I don't know, immigrant. Okay, so I've been here for like a couple of years
Yeah.
now. So I'm still learning about the culture. What do you think it is about the sort of the cultural? You mentioned culture, so could you explain a little bit more around about how culture has influenced maybe some of the, or perpetuated some of the sort of the abuse or the traumatic experiences that children have had?
Yes. It's a very introspective question, I would say, because we will have to go back a little bit in history, maybe thousands of years, just thousands of years in history, where lots of colonization happened.
Yes.
Of different cultures.
Yes.
And there was famine. Almost 12 famines India had to go
Yes.
under. They were affected, drastically affected. Financially also they were affected, right? So because of that, over the period of time, right, at least there were 50 decades or more where India was only on the survival mode.
Yeah.
And then there came a fight and flight mode. If we are trying to understand the window of tolerance, right?
Yes.
So because of that, the family only focused on survival, which is food and shelter.
Yeah.
And lot of parda system and all of that which came into being. Now because of that, the children were obviously taught by the family that this is the safe space.
Yes.
And nothing should go out of there. Right? If it goes out, that means shame is going to come, there's guilt again, there is embarrassment.
Yes.
Right? So these heavy feelings were always caught up with the child.
Okay.
Right? Of course, then what happened is that when we are talking about spirituality, right? India is always equated with spirituality.
Yes.
But somewhere that has been lost.
Okay.
That is not taught to the child.
Okay.
What is only taught to the child is don't talk about this and talk about this. But there is no reasoning as to why.
Okay.
Why shouldn't we talk about this? There is a reason why you don't have to go in that place and do certain things. Nowadays, in schools and even in shelter homes, psychologists and even parents for that matter, and teachers of course, are taking interest, right, in explaining to the children as young as 3 and 4 about body safety.
Yes.
And it's so important.
Yeah.
Because the world is changing. Again, these are the side effects of social media as well. You never know.
Yeah. I want to get back to one of the things that you mentioned around about abuse and that it comes in various forms, because often people are just assume that abuse is talking about sexual abuse, which we know is also prevalent. But can you just sort of maybe, for people that might be sort of watching or listening, because I think it's on Spotify as well. So could you maybe just sort of give a little bit more context to what, the types of abuse and what that constitutes? Because you mentioned sexual, you mentioned financial, you mentioned emotional and physical.
Yeah.
Can you just sort of break it down a little bit more, what that sort of entails in each?
Right. So sometimes you will find a combination of all 4 or 5 of these types of abuse. Sometimes you will find 2 or 3.
Yes.
Right. So let's take one particular family that I had to deal with.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So this child was in 9th grade.
Yeah.
And he came from a very I would say comfortable sort of family, financial background.
Yes.
And father used to work in London, he used to travel, right? And mother was the housewife. But the whole decision making power in regards to the finance was totally in father's hands,
Okay.
right? And mother was doing her job in her home, and it's not easy being a housewife too.
Sure.
There is a lot of stuff to do in the
Yes.
house, taking care of
Yep.
the child who is growing up,
Yes.
right? So especially for a teenager, having a male figure in life is as important as having a mother figure, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So they used to do a lot of, there used to be lots of fights between the husband and wife, right? But there used to be never an explanation for why the fights are happening. Children are okay with that.
Yeah.
But you have to give some kind of context
Yes.
so that they can understand.
Yeah.
Slowly, over the period of time, the child saw that it turned into a domestic violence,
Okay. Yeah.
right? And mother used to keep quiet for that. Ki, if I talk against him,
Yes.
if I raise my voice, you will get affected. So she would keep quiet. But they failed to understand that the boy is observing the father, the boy is observing the mother as well.
Yes.
And he would not like the reaction she was having for that.
Yeah.
Because children are more aware about surroundings, they see their friends' parents, right? There is a vast difference between how my parents are staying and how my friends' parents are staying,
Yes.
right? So that is when he started to show signs of violence,
Okay.
which were again pushed under the carpet.
Yes.
There is a lot of denial, there is rejection. Oh, I am not a bad parent. But
Yeah.
nobody is saying that you are a bad parent,
Yeah.
right? Nobody is pointing out your mistakes as a
Yes.
parent.
Yes.
It's just you require a support.
Yeah.
That is where the parents required an emotional support,
Yes.
right? So one fine day, he was really good in academics. If I have to give a percentage, he would score 95%.
Okay.
He was that good.
Yeah.
But when it came to, doing their own thing, like getting ready for school, so a ninth grader is almost 14 years old,
Yeah. It's about,
approximately. Approximately, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even to tie his shoelace, he would require mother's help.
Okay.
He was that dependent.
Right.
And for him, emotional support would be that you do something in action so that I can see it visually.
Yeah.
And one fine day, what happened? They were having this argument that why are you not raising your voice against this? He took out a baseball bat and smacked it on the LCD TV. And then the whole blaming started. The father came down from London, saw that whole scenario, right? Hit the mother again in front of the child.
Yeah.
The child hit the father hit the child, and it was all chaotic. Then the whole blame game started in the school, where the child was labeled by the others that, oh, he has behavioral issues.
Yeah.
But here the interventions are required.
Yeah.
It's not the child,
No.
it's somewhere else.
Yeah.
So as you can see, there is a lot of combination that is happening. There is a physical violence, there's physical abuse, there's financial abuse, and there is emotional abuse.
And the financial abuse really in that phase is that someone else is taking control of the money
Yes.
and depriving.
Yes.
If this is not done,
Yes,
that's not going to
exactly.
be paid. And often people don't
Yes.
understand that that's actually abuse. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one more interesting part in many of the cases that I have handled is that I'm giving you food to eat. I'm allowing you
Yes.
to do, to buy pizza or sandwiches or go to Zara and H&M to buy
Yeah.
expensive clothing. Still you are not satisfied.
Yes.
But there is something more that is required over there.
Yeah.
That is something that certain parents fail to understand, right? Because they might have seen the similar thing that has happened in their childhood probably, right? So it goes on and on and on and on.
I mean, interestingly, I don't work with children.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got some limited experience of about a year working in a behavioural school.
Right.
So, and we're talking like over 30 years ago. So my experience is, so I'm still quite limited. But what a lot of the clients that I tend to work with have had, early childhood,
Yes.
experiences that
Yes.
have, adverse early childhood experiences, which impact on what goes on. What sort of age do you think that children start to observe stuff? Because I've heard a lot of parents say, yeah, but they don't really, they really don't know. And the thing I say is, you'd be surprised what a child picks up.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, at what age do you feel that children start observing what is maybe going on in the family home?
I think our Indian literature has spoken beautifully about that. In Garud Puran, for example,
Okay.
it's one of the scriptures. It talks about since the point the child is conceived,
Yes.
in pregnancy, perinatal and prenatal.
Yes.
You know, since that point of time, the child is able to assess the mother's emotions right in the womb.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is where the neurobiological and biochemical things happen.
Yes.
Right. So lot of the stuff again happens inside the womb, where the child is able to feel what the mother is going through.
Yes.
And that I would say that since that point of time, the adverse childhood effects can be might not be able to assess them, but we can say, oh, probably this is where the starting point is.
Yeah.
Coming back to your question, you can actually make out the child is distressed when the child is going to the kindergarten.
Yeah.
You can make out they might not have vocabulary for it, but their actions speak louder than words.
Yes.
You know, you can make out.
And how would,
Yeah.
for those that,
Yes, yes.
how would that play out? I mean, I think.
For example, the child is, passing urine
Yes.
all of a sudden without any sort of signs or there is enuresis, there is encopresis, right? Which is, even if the child is potty trained, at smallest amount of loud noise, they are panicking.
Yes.
Or there is exaggerated sort
Yes.
of expression which is given,
Yeah.
right? You can see black bags under the eyes of the child.
Yes.
The child is extremely disheveled,
Yeah.
is not growing up as appropriately as per age. The
Yeah.
child is underweight,
Yes.
right? Or even if you look at the tiffin, for example,
Yes.
right? Whatever snacks they have, sometimes the parents are so tired that they end up giving just 1 or 2 biscuits,
Yeah.
and the child is sitting like that.
Yeah.
You know, many a times, if you might visit the kindergarten, children are more closer to the ayahs who are there as helpers in the schools, or the maids,
Yeah.
or the teachers.
Okay.
They are more expressive.
Yes.
Let's say in hugs, they require 1 or 2 hugs in between the session.
Yeah.
If the classroom is on, they'll just come and just give me a hug.
Yeah.
That is what that is how they behave.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So these are simple but very, very important milestones that we have to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Right? So there have been parents who say, by the time it's 4 or 5, the child is 4 or 5, it will go away.
Yeah.
Sure. But sometimes it is good to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Because why is the child suddenly, who is trained but suddenly having these kind of extremities?
Yeah.
It's very important to note that. And teachers do that job well, I believe. Even tuition teachers who are teaching the kindergartners.
That they're able to spot some of the early signs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes because the parents are always observing the child, maybe 24/7, it might just pass away like that. Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, I guess some of it goes the other way, where that when you talk about emotional abuse, but that part you mentioned where, okay, the family, they'll spend the money, you can go to H&M, you can go and have your meals, you can have all of this, but then they don't get what they need. They don't get necessarily get their emotional needs met. I mean, I see a lot of I see a lot of clients, adult clients, obviously, of course, that reiterate that that growing up, that that it wasn't that it didn't get. I had everything.
Right.
I had everything material.
Yes.
But I didn't have. Yeah. I didn't have. My parent was my dad was absent. Or the only time I see him, would he give me some money? It was like there's that whole So I guess it's sort of like a positive and negative sort of
Yes,
abuse,
yes.
isn't it?
Yes, definitely, because um, again, Indian society is a collectivist society,
Yes.
right? And parenting is a generational or a sort of a hereditary parenting style,
Yeah.
which we cannot say it's right or wrong, because it's like totally different culture compared to the Western culture,
Oh,
if we can
absolutely.
say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
yeah.
we have a lot of support.
Yeah.
But if we have a particular client sitting in front of us, so we will definitely have to look back in their family history as to what kind of parenting style was there.
Yeah.
Definitely, if you go back to 70s and 60s, it was more about, okay, there is a discipline, but there is not much strictness. Whereas
Yeah.
if you go back to the grandfather's era,
Yeah.
there will be survival mode and strictness.
Yeah. And when you say strictness, what do you mean by that?
So there will be a specific role given to every individual in the family.
Yeah.
There will be in certain households it is still prevalent, but not as much.
Yeah.
Right. But during grandfather's era, it would be like the males of the family are earning.
Yeah.
The females of the family are in the kitchen,
Yeah.
tending to children and kitchen, for example. Then the kids are playing,
Yeah.
doing whatever they do as kids. So that is what the roles were, very, very strict.
Okay.
Right. So again, it depends on the individual as well, that is the person reflective enough
Yeah.
in the parenting style. Have they learned anything, or
Yes.
are they just imitating?
And of course, people as parents sort of imitate often what their own experiences were of being.
Yes.
When they become a parent.
Rather, sometimes it does happen that they project onto the children.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't do that.
Yeah. I mean, it goes.
Yes.
It goes back ways, doesn't it?
Yes, and many a times it has happened like that.
Yeah.
In my clinic, right, most of the time it is mother and the child who comes in.
Okay. Why do you think the father? I mean.
Yes, that's
you're
a good
allowed.
question.
You're allowed to say so. Like
Yes. So generally, it is the mother who stays at home with the child
Yeah.
many a times, and
Yeah.
even if she is a working mother,
Yes.
it is considered that mother is more aware about child's likes and dislikes.
Yes.
I would say there are good fathers.
Of
I
course.
would say there
Yeah.
are no good fathers or bad fathers, but
Yeah, I know.
they're mostly working, right?
Yeah.
So I have to call the fathers down
Yeah.
and ask about their perspective as well.
Yes.
So there is one a pragmatic perspective and there is one emotional and sensitive perspective.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the child sometimes gets confused in between the two, because the child is just trying to explore, and given with what the social media is pouring onto their brains, right?
Yes.
They become all the more confused. So there is sort of an identity crisis that the child goes through.
Yeah.
And that too early in age. Earlier it was more of an young adult thing. Now it is an adolescent and pre-teens, I would say.
Yes.
That the child is going through identity crisis because they want to do lots but don't have the agency for.
Yes.
The father will come for one session, they'll ask, am I needed? Right?
Yeah.
Because again, they have to earn and everything, take care of the family. That is still there at maybe 60-70% in them. Yeah. So that is how it goes, especially in this kind of a setup where the father is mostly not there.
Okay.
I wouldn't say completely absent,
Yeah.
but emotionally somewhere they need to be aware about what the child is going through. It is only when the things are escalated that the father comes in, that, okay, who has bothered my child?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, the type of clients that you work with, I mean, what sort of age group do you generally sort of see, what is your age group that you see?
From age of 4 to 60.
To 16?
60.
60.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And what? I mean, you work a lot with clients with trauma and abuse and trauma. What are sort of the approaches that you take in your therapeutic approaches with these clients?
Yes. So again, it's very individualistic, right? But if we are talking about specific therapies, right?
Yes.
So I have just got trained in EMDR, so that is working fantastic.
Okay.
Next is CBT.
Yes.
Many of the clients love CBT because
Yeah.
they feel that they are being included or being part of something
Yes.
that they were not there before.
Yes.
Right? REBT is there, ACT is there, acceptance commitment therapy,
Yeah.
you know, all of these sort of things. Now what has magically worked is play therapy as well for adults.
Okay, tell me a little bit about that. I'm interested.
Yes. So I had conducted an awareness session with children in one of the shelter homes that I was working with, one
Yeah.
of the houses of the shelter homes. And the caretaker also wanted to take part, right, in that session. So she was just sitting there, and I gave the clay to the kids.
Yes.
And kids started their own thing, you know. I gave them the free space, and everybody had, you know, picked up one corner of the room, and they were doing fantastic. In one, so the caretaker by herself participated in that session, that activity that were going on, and she drew one scenario. She made a scenario out of that clay,
Yeah.
which was sort of like a well, sitting near that well and reading a book, and her
Okay.
father is working next to her,
Yeah.
as good as she could make it out.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah.
So when we were discussing, and you know, I encouraged the caretaker so that the children are more enthusiastic to do the
Yeah,
activity, right?
yeah.
So she mentioned that, you know, I miss my father a lot, and I never had the time to grieve for him,
Yeah.
right? Because I had to take care of my siblings who were younger than me, and I'm the eldest.
Yeah.
So I asked, at what age did you start working? She said, as young as 13.
Okay.
So we didn't have time. My mother was working as a domestic helper at somebody's house.
Yes.
But that was not enough.
Yes.
I loved reading books, the caretaker was saying. And my father too wanted, because he never had the chance to do so. So it tells you a lot about how a generational poverty
Yes.
and the circumstances
Yes.
can hinder lots of things.
Yes, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
And that is when slowly the rest of the children start to talk about their abuse that they have seen, probably vicariously or
Yes.
experienced by themselves.
Yes. Yeah.
And they are doing so well in their lives. I mean, their parents were generationally abused,
Yes.
and the child was about to get abused but was rescued,
Yeah.
you know. And of course, when they come in the shelter homes, it's very difficult for them to adjust. Even if you see lots of kids on the streets as well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, of course.
If you just talk to them for a moment,
Yeah.
they will behave like, oh, who are you to talk to me? They instantly go on a survival mode that, you know, I have to fight or run away. But the moment you let them know that, oh, I'm a safe person, you can just have a 2 minutes talk to me,
Yeah.
they will reveal their world.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, I mean, I sort of notice sort of when I walk around, you know, and
Yeah.
you know, young children on the streets.
Yes.
And as you say, you know, they often put a facade on of that they're tough and
Yes,
they're,
yes,
you know,
exactly. That my personality is very
their
strong. It's
personality-
very unapproachable.
Yeah, their initial personality is very,
Yes,
you
very,
know.
very, very strong.
yeah,
That nobody can, you know, nobody can bully me,
yeah,
because that goes on, and you have to wear that coat,
yes,
because if they are not putting that out there, immediately you become one of the victims.
yeah,
And that is what they take back to the shelter homes
yeah,
for at least initial first 3 months, just to understand the concepts that these 4 walls are the safest walls that you will have in life, or life that you have till now.
yeah. And unfortunately for some children, those
Yes.
4 walls are not safe places, are
Yes,
they?
yes,
You know, I think,
definitely.
you know, I remember speaking with someone that was telling me how if they did something wrong,
Yes,
that, you know, they were locked in a cupboard under the stairs.
yes,
That they were made to eat their food
yes,
in a bowl like a dog.
yes,
That,
yes,
you know, and these are sort of things
yes,
that people, kids are exposed to, unfortunately.
Yeah. I have had those kind of cases.
Yeah.
Fortunately, unfortunately. Fortunately for me as a therapist, but unfortunate for them because they had to go through a lot.
Yes.
They have seen a lifetimes, I would say, in one lifetime, right?
Yeah.
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 I have seen certain cases in my personal years of as a professional where the child has learned to sleep inside the bed cupboards,
Yeah.
right? Because that is the safe space.
Yeah.
They never cared about whether it is clean, whether it is hygienic.
Yeah.
There's no light, there's no air passing inside
Yes.
those cupboards, but they feel safer there.
Yeah.
And they will only come when they feel safe. So it doesn't matter whether it is 24 hours, they can go hungry.
Yeah.
But that is that safe space.
Yeah.
And I've done counseling sessions like that. Like the cupboard is shut, I'm sitting right outside. There are few kids who are standing outside the door.
Yes.
In case I need some sort of help, so
Yeah, of
that
course.
they
Yeah.
are there to give me a support. And the child is talking through that cupboard.
Yeah.
And it took 6 months for that child to come out and speak to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it takes a lot of effort for them to just, inside their brains that, okay, this is a safe space.
Yeah.
Let me experience it.
I can go back to that person that I was talking about,
Yes.
and there were some other issues that were sort of going on within that household, and then the behaviour changed to there was self-harm
Yes.
became prevalent
Definitely,
for that person, that young girl. But the interesting part was that when they engaged in therapy, that their biggest concern and was that they were concerned that what they were saying to the therapist would go back to the family. That was something that they really struggled with, because they were concerned that if I start talking about this, then it's going to go back.
Yes.
And I don't want.
Yes. Because unfortunately, they have experienced that. Even the kids who have, that I have worked with, they also have the similar sort of a fear where, oh, you'll tell the caretaker. Will you tell my parent that they have done this to me? Because somebody has broken that trust.
Yes.
And that is where the personality disorders are formed as a part of a shield.
Yeah.
It's not because I just wanted to, but it's a shield. They wanted to be protected from something.
Yes.
The adults in their life failed to protect that. The society failed to protect them. The environment is just getting from bad to worse.
Yes.
Certain life circumstances, the coping ability automatically goes down, right? And that is when the personality disorders come in as protective shield.
Yeah.
Now, as a therapist, as a social worker, when we are working holistically with a client who is going through a lot of drastic changes one by one and back to back, right? Giving them the agency in the therapy room creates a lot of difference. And there have been times where the client or the child has come and asked ki Didi ne kuch bola kya? Has she told anything about you? That trust is constantly broken. That is the reason they come and ask these type of questions. But when you as a therapist are able to give that assurance to them that whatever stays between us is confidential.
Of course. Yeah. Because some people think that, like, you come into a session and therefore if and particularly, and I've had this where a parent is paying for therapy, and the question is, well, I'm paying for it, I need to know what's going on in that session.
Yes.
And I've had that here, particularly here in India, where and they said, well, I'm going to send them somewhere else then. And the client has said to me, they've in the past they make sure that whatever therapist or doctor they're working with says
They
exactly.
tell- yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
so immediately it's really difficult for
Yes.
for the client to
Yes.
sort of be open about stuff.
I think that comes from 2 point of views.
Yeah.
One is feeling protective
Yeah.
about the child
Yes.
or the adult, whoever it is.
Yeah.
Second, like from the professional point of view, so in India, I would say, why are doctors considered as gods? Because they can give you diagnosis. They can really give you a sort of what is going on, a word for that, right? Let's say if when you give a label, they are able to understand much better.
Yeah, I mean that's a common
Yes.
question I get asked. What's the diagnosis?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
I need to know what the diagnosis.
Because they are able to understand,
Yeah.
they will do their own research after going home,
Yeah.
and they are able to explain to the extended family as well.
Yeah.
An extended family is not just uncle and aunts. It is the
Yeah.
neighbor. It is the watchman of the building. It is the milkman. Everybody is included.
Yeah, I mean it's very difficult though, really,
Yes.
to turn around and give a diagnosis. I mean, I'm of the opinion that
Yes.
sometimes, particularly with psychological disorders and personality
Yes.
disorders, very difficult to really give a diagnosis. It's
Yes.
purely based on, it's just your observation.
Yes, just the interaction, initial interaction.
It's not
Yes.
like if I go in to see the doctor in the hospital and I've got a broken leg,
Yeah.
he can say, well, actually, yeah, you have
Yes.
a broken leg. I mean, we
Yes.
tend to try to
Yes.
work more with the trait,
Yes.
the traits that the client is displaying, as opposed to, oh, this is the diagnosis and therefore they're going to do this. It's
Correct.
like, okay, let's see what they display and let's work with that side. But
Yes, yes, definitely, and it becomes easier for them to understand.
Yeah.
Because, for example, in surgeries, there is a particular method that you can go with.
exactly.
Whereas in mental health, it's not like that. There are comorbidities, there are habits, right?
Yeah.
That has been cultivated maybe over the generations or by the person as a coping mechanism, or how the family unit
Yes.
as a nuclear family or as a joint family is working.
Yeah.
And then you see all the traits of each family member in one child.
Yeah. And then, I mean, you have the other bit as well, that they've seen three or four doctors, and the doctors have given different diagnoses anyway.
Yes, yes. That is true.
So-
And also another part of that behavior with the parents is that some parents take it very, very personally.
Yeah,
Right? That,
yeah.
oh, that person is going to talk about my parenting.
Yeah.
So they are unable to accept, maybe, oh, I have been wronged somewhere. Or they are more aware about it, it's just that they are not ready to confront and accept
to
it.
accept it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
I've experienced that a few times, and
Yes.
not just in India, but
Yes.
in the various countries that I've worked in, that sometimes for the family it's very difficult to accept that. I've had the part where the son is schizophrenic,
Yeah.
and clearly
Yeah,
they're suffering with schizophrenia,
Right.
but the family are really struggling, and they're looking for a different answer, a different,
Yes.
and that causes problem within the family dynamic as well.
Definitely. And the thing also is that, that they tag themselves as failures.
Yeah.
And that is where, as a therapist or a family and couples therapist, our role enhances. Like, it goes beyond just the child. Then.
Yes. Yeah.
That we need to emotionally ground the parents first, that it's not about you.
Yes.
It's the whole collectively, whatever has happened, what you did, we will not go into right and wrong. But we will try to understand what we can do better.
Yeah. I mean, as I work with adults, as you know,
Yeah.
but the amount of times and I facilitate sessions with family as well. It's really important part of the work that we do. Is it's not just about sort of working with the client, it's also working with the family.
Yes.
But the thing that I hear so often is, what have I done wrong? What did I do? And it's a difficult one, because
It is difficult.
parenting is really
Yes.
Not
And there's
easy.
no textbook.
no.
There's no textbook for parenting. Even though probably your grandmother has been a better mother, but there are times where you might You know, there might be ups and downs with
Yeah.
your teenager,
Yeah.
right? Because the times are changing so drastically.
What do you see when we talk about teenagers? What do you sort of see as the sort of the big issues at the moment with the sort of the teenage population?
So I would say that firstly, like I said few minutes back, that there is identity crisis that the child goes through. Secondly, the changes in the environment are very, very fast.
Yeah.
Let's say fashion,
Yeah.
right? Let's say technology.
Yeah.
And the children are moving ahead like literally fast.
Yes. Yeah.
It's unstoppable.
Yeah.
So the parents are finding it difficult to keep up with them.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you must have heard the statement from Indian parents, especially, "Hamare zamane mein, in our days, this was not there."
Do you know what?
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly the same thing is said even
Yeah.
you know even in the UK. You
Yes.
know, I hear people, you know,
Yes.
back in my day this wouldn't happen, or you know, this is.
But unfortunately, today's generation doesn't have that role model sort of opportunity to look at.
Yeah.
Whereas millennials and people before them, they had generations where they could see.
Okay.
Whereas right now it's just changing drastically. Even in cinemas, for example, you have every other movie coming every week,
Yes.
right? So they are moving ahead, whereas the parents are struggling to keep up with them
Yeah.
because they are still in the survival mode.
Yeah.
That, oh, I want to give a particular lifestyle to my child. I want to give him or her a better education, want them go, you know, in better universities abroad, earn
Yeah.
and settle down.
Yeah.
Whereas today's generation is like, I will do what I want. Where somewhere there is a generational gap. That, okay, just wait. That is not how the human life is supposed to be. It is supposed to be like this. Whereas you are erasing everything.
Everything has changed.
Yes, everything is changed.
Yeah.
Right? So none of the parties are able to accept.
Yeah.
Then comes the secrets of the families. You know,
Okay.
oh, I as a child was hit by the parent
Yep.
very, very brutally, not just the spanking, but
Yep.
very brutally. I did that to my child as well. What's so wrong in it?
Yeah.
I'm straight today, as in I'm doing everything good in my life. So that is where in the therapy, yeah.
I mean, I remember, you know, I mean, even in the UK, well, you know, a good thrashing never did me any harm.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
You know, that was, you
Yeah.
know, and I still hear people sometimes, you know, some of the older generations
Yeah.
still say, you know, well, you know, when I was a kid, getting a good thrashing
Yeah.
didn't do me any harm. But actually, that's not necessarily true, is it?
Yeah.
You know, it's-
Definitely. I mean, if you are going to have sort of extreme reactions in the situation where discussion or opportunities, like waiting patiently and giving the opportunity for the person, you know, they immediately become open to that space. They cry,
Yes.
they experience catharsis,
Yes.
lots of things come up,
Yeah.
even between the husband and wife,
Yes.
you know, because they are projecting on their child.
Yeah.
Because for a wife or a mother, the child is the one where she can like really pour
Yeah.
the love
Yeah.
or any sort of emotions which are heavy.
Yes.
So unfortunately the child becomes the victim, you know, and then it reflects back again on the mother, where all the psychosomatization starts
Yeah.
happening,
Yeah.
where the mother is not in picture, the child is completely lost,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. Yeah, so that is where in the family setup, giving an opportunity for the parents as well to explain their perspective and grievances also becomes highly important.
Highly important. Yeah.
Let them talk.
So, I mean, just to wrap up, and I'd be sort of mindful of the time, and
Yes.
and thank you also for coming and having. I could probably continue this conversation for another hour.
Yeah.
What would your message be to maybe families that are struggling with stuff or needing help, or maybe, I mean, it's difficult for children. They're not necessarily going to be the people that initially come to you, are they? I
Yes,
guess, you know, it's normally through.
definitely,
So,
yes.
what would be your message be to people?
So the first thing would be, do not hesitate to ask questions.
Yeah.
That is the first thing. Ask to a professional
Yeah.
rather than going to all the places, right? Ask a professional what is required, what do you think? Ask that. Secondly, I would say it's not about you. It's not personally about you. There are some certain times where here and there things might turn up, but you don't have to take personally.
Yes.
Nobody is blaming you, right? And the third thing, there are lots of opportunities nowadays because mental health awareness is happening in India,
Yes.
right? So take that opportunity, whether you want it to be free of cost or you want to pay, and there are lots of opportunities, so take that. Do not wait until things have escalated to a point where, oh, I want a particular diagnosis for my child, or my child is behaving very differently, or my wife is behaving very, very differently than what she was. Don't wait till the things have escalated, because not only it affects the individual, but it affects the whole family. And both sides of the family, I would say.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? The maternal side and the paternal side.
Yes.
So do not wait for things to escalate and go out of hand. Right? Yeah, and listen to the kids.
Listen to the kids. Yeah, okay.
They're verbal and non-verbal cues, both.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just the verbal bits, is it?
Yes, yes.
So okay, look, I really appreciate
Thank you so
your time. Thank you also for coming to Samarpan, and I hope we have another conversation about this in a bit more detail. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.